there's hardly any difference between them except in box 14. And it talks about if you're expecting to pay $1,000 or less in this calendar month, then check here. And if not, then you need to file this form or that form or so on and so forth. So that's the only difference I can see between the two forms.
Okay. Yeah, and I don't know what it's. Tom says that even when you're going online, it's even slightly different there online.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, but it's just too different. We're going to have to send in the paper if it doesn't exactly express what we want. But at least for the state and the 98, it's been close enough so that I did get the numbers.
Oh, you did get the numbers. So you've done this SS4 already?
Not this SS4 because they're not open on the weekend.
Oh, I see. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right.
Did he put the XXX as just to keep the number private, or did it actually use the real Social Security number there? Because I thought since we have an estate EIN...
I'll go over that in a second, okay?
Okay, cool.
Okay, we'll go over on filling out the form, okay? First, the form is basically you're coming in as the legal name of entity or individual for whom the EIN is being requested. You're coming in as the individual banker, okay? So your name, semicolon, last name, whatever, individual banker / CFO. Then line 2 is going to be your trade name of the business, which is different from the name above, because now it's going to be the Patrick Devine Private Bank, Estate and Trust. There will be nothing in 3 or 5A or 5B, okay? We put our mailing address down in for our bank and everything. And it's the same for the CFO is our mailing address. Then the county and state where the principal business is to be located. Then down in 7A, the name of the trustor, okay? And that's going to be Patrick Devine, all capital, a.k.a. also Patrick Paul Devine, trustor. And I'm putting my EIN number in there for my estate EIN because I declared him dead. Using the estate, getting the estate EIN to where we put down in block 9A and mark that estate SSN of the decedent. So our fictional person is dead. And he's the one that had the SSN. That was basically the death certificate, commercial death certificate for that fictional person. Social Security Administration wants a death certificate. Well, basically that's your EIN for the decedent. You've marked him, and so that's a corporate document recorded by the Treasury Department. In Block 8A, you would mark no. This is not a limited liability company. In Block 9A, this time you're going to go down and mark other private unincorporated bank. Nothing in 9B. In line 10, you're marking this for banking purposes, and it's to process private assets. Date business started or acquired, that'll be the date you're going to fill this thing out. in line 7 or 11. Line 12, the closing month of the accounting year, December. Number of employees, 000. Do you expect your employment tax liability to be $1,000 or less in a full year? Yes. You skip line 15 because you're not paying any wages. Go down to line 16, and you're going to mark the reason, the block that physically describes the activity of your business, and that is other, private bank of private properties. Line 17 will be basically private unincorporated bank holding individual private estate and foreign grantor trust properties. Has the application entity shown above ever applied for an EIN? No. You've never applied for an EIN as an individual banker. Then you go on down, and you're going to, under penalty of perjury, you're going to put your name as the individual banker CFO, phone number, and then sign and date it. But if you do this online, that shouldn't be a problem. So that's pretty much it. Now we have our number that we need to have as a private individual or as an individual banker for our private bank. Now, one of the key things was the word testor. Trustor. It also means settler. Settlor. I sent Tom the definitions out of Ballantyne's on those. Somebody's got some background. You need to mute out. *6.
I just muted them out.
Bill Smith. It was also talking about trust patent to Indians. See, restricted allotment. But when you go in and read settlor, okay, the creator of a trust, one who has conveyed or transferred property to another who is to hold the same as trustee for the benefit of a third person. The settler is your fictional person. He is the one that conveyed the assets over to the Social Security Administration or the driver's license or the Department of Transportation, whoever. And then they're holding it as the trustee, supposedly for the benefit of the third person, being us. But it's really not a benefit per se. It's a restricted allotment. The person who furnishes the consideration for the trust, even though in form the trust is created by another person, as where a decedent, by paying a pro quad, has caused another person to make a transfer of property with enjoyment subject to change by the exercise of such power by the decedent. Anderson or Black's law basically has it a little simpler. Okay? Just one who creates a trust. one who furnishes consideration for the creation of a trust. Though in form, the trust is created by another. Now, restricted allotment. Conditions imposed in the allotment of Indian lands to individuals, particular conditions against alienation by the allottee intended to safeguard and conserve the property for the Indians. Most people don't realize that in this country, basically there was a treaty that was signed, and it was called the Treaty of Delaware, to where the white man became a tribe unto itself of the land. And the white man, basically after 3 generations, became an aborigine white Indian. But they don't tell you all of that because they don't want you to know that they basically have snuck things in here under the Indian laws that they have on the books. One of the key things, if you go into allottee, A-L-L-O-T-T-E-E, one who an allotment is made. That was in Ballantyne's. Well, in Black's Law Dictionary, it has a lot more to it. One to whom an allotment is made, who receives a ratable share under an allotment, a person to whom land under an enclosed act or shares in a public undertaking are allotted. An allottee, as the word is used in the act, get this, you could look it up in the statute at large. And I think it's either volume 32 or 33.
It's about 33, page 189, chapter 1402.
April 21st, 1904, chapter 1402, 33 statute 189 to 204. Is one generally an Indian, freed man, or adopted citizen of a tribe of Indians? And like I said, per the Treaty of Delaware, the white man and basically all other immigrants to America became under that tribe. To whom a tract of land out of the common holding has been given by or under the supervision of the United States. Land is also gold and silver. They're from the land. So our assets that are held in the Treasury are really land, okay? They're a commodity. A freed man is one who was set free from a state of bondage. We were supposed to be set free at the age of 25. But they try and use it in the definition that basically it is only referring to Negroes who were formerly slaves. No, that's not what the term is used in all cases. And see, we were supposed to be at the age of 25 in a state of being free, liberty, and self-determination, absent of restraint, the opposite of slavery. But right now, everybody is acting that we are in a state of slavery, serving a damn fictional master under a false religion. And that goes to the next term, which would be freedom of religion. Under allotment, basically, the allotment system was used to hold the assets, try and protect the assets from the people who basically were not in a, where the hell is it? Hang on just a second.
Okay.
I talked about incompetency somewhere in there, and I can't find it right now. Under allotment, and that's what they were trying to hold under their restrictive here it is. Restricted allotments, okay? But then the next one after restricted allotments, they didn't have that in blacks, so they had restricted lands. Lands, the alienation of which is subject to restrictions imposed by Congress to protect the Indians from their own supposed incompetency. And see, that's what Congress did. They imposed restrictions against our lands, saying that they were protecting the Indians from us, okay, us as Indians, from our own supposed incompetency. And then you can go on and read about and see the restriction was also in the case of land registered under the English Land Transfer Act of 1875, and a lot of these items came over from England, okay? The restricted, let me see, they had, gotta love this one, okay? Allotment warden. By the English General Enclosure Act, 1845, when an allotment for the laboring poor of the district has been made an enclosure under the Act, the land so allotted is to be under the management of the incumbent or church warden, basically styled the allotment wardens. Now, who are the allotment wardens in this country? They are the bar members. And see, they're following right along with this 1845 statute or act that was created in England.
Did you say 1845 or 75?
1845.
Okay, that's not the Land Transfer Act.
No.
Okay.
General Enclosure Act.
It's what's it called?
English General Enclosure Act.
Okay.
1845, Section 108.
General.
Yeah, it's an English General Enclosure Act. Okay, it's in England.
Right.
Okay, it's an English law, but basically it came over to this country, and that's when they brought over, started bringing the bar members into this country. See, that's what Abraham Lincoln knew what was going on when they were starting to do this with these bar members. Now, the restrictions of the land in Land Transfer Act, English Land Transfer Act, was 1875. And see, that was the restriction that was in England. But it didn't get put onto the books here until 1904. Under the Allotment Act, or whatever they call it. And see, that was all set up prior to the certificate of live birth and the marriage license and the divorce license, the driver's license, all these other licenses and insurance policies. They had to set up this other act, this Allotment Act. And then basically they could allot out certain things to you, but there's ways around it because basically you've got an allotment certificate, and that is your certificate of live birth. And then if you had military service, you have an allotment note. And it would be, the allotment note would be a written order drawn by a seaman upon his employer, accepted by the latter, and directing the payment of the seaman's wages in sum to persons and at times specified in the order. That's in Valentine's. In Blacks, it says, in English law, a writing by a seaman where he makes an assignment of part of his wages in favor of his wife, father, mother, grandfather, grandmother, brother, or sister. I think you could fit either into the father, brother, or mother, or whatever in the damn assessment or assignment. And this is also all under the allotment system. Okay? That system or practice under which lands are by treaty allotted to Indian tribes for use as hunting grounds or other purposes. The word allotted is not to be construed or understood in the sense of being parceled out to the Indians as a favor. Well, a favor is a benefit. So it's saying it's not to be construed, but rather in the sense of acknowledging their right to have the lands thus set out to them. That is our right to have those assets delivered to us. It's not a benefit. And it's under the allotment system. But see, most people don't understand that we are really, in a lot of senses, in this country, classified as an Indian tribe. Even though they try and restrict it to only red men. But when you understand that there was a Treaty of Delaware, that basically that treaty still stands, that the white man became an Indian tribe in this country. And all members of that white tribe, whether they be black, purple, pink, polka dot, I don't care, they're all of that tribe. So basically, the whole gist of this is we need to get in there and be basically the individual banker of our private bank. Then we can do a restricted allotment or a restrictive endorsement by our trustor or settler, or even our seamen on military DD-214s for this selective service number over to, or the Social Security, the VA Social Security account, and have those allotments given over to us under a restrictive endorsement. An endorsement so worded as to restrict the further negotiability of an instrument, thus pay the contents to SJS only, or to JS for my use. You can look up restrictive endorsement. I can't remember which one that was in, whether it's Ballantyne's or Black's. I think it was under Black's that I found that.
What's JS?
It's just somebody's initials, okay?
Oh, okay.
Doesn't make a damn bit of difference. Could be PP.
Okay.
Okay? It's just giving you an example.
Okay.
But that's pretty much it. Then, basically, several people have already gone in, and we need to then turn around and approach the finance department of the state or the banking division of the state and get recognized as such. And especially now that we have a Treasury authorized bank EIN number, banker's EIN number. And then they can no longer classify anything that we do as a fraudulent endorsement or forgery or any of that shit. which all these commercial bankers try and do to protect themselves because they don't want us to have access to our real assets. But when you get the power of the Treasury behind you, then you start, and the IRS, then you start having power over them. But that's what we were missing. We had the estate EIN and the foreign grantor trust EIN. Basically, they're two bank routing numbers, but we still didn't have our bank in place. We have to have our name, our bank trade name recognized, and we have to be recognized as an individual banker. Then we have recognition. Now the states have to also recognize that. Because if a tax man recognizes it, the states are going to have to recognize it. So that's pretty much it. Any questions?
Not so much a question, but you were circling around being a tribe 6 months ago or so.
Yeah.
You really validated it and nailed it down.
Yeah, and this all comes back to play, and it had to go in and had to look at that SS4, and it's the last word in line 7. Trustor.
Hmm.
And then when you look it up, it says trustor. Trust patent to Indians. See restricted allotment.
Wow.
That's what I'm saying. You have to go in and check these words out. The words will tell you the answers.
And this is a very good demonstration of that. Great.
Yeah. Restricted allotment. Conditions imposed in the allotment of tribal lands. Well, everything in this country is tribal lands to individuals.
Hmm.
Pretty much right there. And then, see, they're trying to come in, and they're going to be Mr. Controller out here because they feel that people are totally incompetent of handling their own affairs. And if you listen to what those 5,000-year audios talking about private property and everything, I tell you which ones it is. One of them is 27 you need to listen to, and the other one is basically 14. And this country was founded upon the rights to property and self-determination. Property doesn't have rights, but we have rights to our private property and our self-determination of our properties without outside influences trying to tell us what the hell we're supposed to do. That's why we become an individual banker. Now, your assets are not under your family's control or anybody else's control. They're under your control as an individual. And then as an allotment, you can either take it out in partial allotment or you can take it out in full.
So we really have an answer to the fax that we sent out at requesting a number. We get it ourselves.
They're not, yeah, we got to get it. And then we tell them what our number is.
Yeah.
And then we also tell them that we have a commercial death certificate on file with the tax man for our fictional person.
Okay.
Therefore, all of these settlements, okay, or settler accounts, these trusts, basically, that they created, false trusts, really, fictional, whatever they want to call them. They're really domestic insurance policies. Okay, that's really what the trust is. That basically now that the insured is dead. And the insured is dead, now the assets that are held for that insured person have to come back to the person that is the owner of them. The allottee, and that's you. As the individual banker / CFO, since your testator is dead or settler is dead. That's why if you've got your estate EIN, I would use that instead of the Social Security number. On line 7B. Now, any questions? *6 if you want to ask a question.
I've only
or
muted
make
a
a
few.
comment.
Yeah.
Once we get this in, then we will come in, and at that point in time, we will demand our private driver's license or private identification card. Our private license plate on our vehicle. In the movie, Bullet to the Head, 2 places in the movie, basically it showed a Louisiana license plate. The first one was in about 3/4 of the way through the movie, and it showed Louisiana. It had a number, and then below the number it had private. I've talked to several people across the country, and they say, you know, I've seen licenses like that out there in the state. The other license plate, you just got a new car, so basically you hadn't got it converted over yet. It had pretty much a regular Louisiana license plate on it.
Well, that's a strong indication that this is going to work. If people already have that kind of license.
That they're out there. Keep your eyes out for them, okay?
Yeah, right.
But you'll get this too. Once you get out of the system now and basically shut down their state insurance policies, and then you've got your assets, you're self-insured. The vehicle gets crashed, okay? You're never in an accident. You never use the word accident. That's in the commercial world, trying to basically get you into their system, because everything out here, unless you go out and actually physically try and ram somebody, and then that doesn't fall under accident at that point in time, that falls under attempted murder with a vehicle or whatever, or causing harm. But otherwise, any collision that would take place out there is an act of God, because two gods are trying to be in the same place at the same time. Even though one of you might have run the red light, basically you're still out there trying to be in the same place at the same time, and it's an impossibility. Then only if you feel the kindness of your heart would you give anything over to the other party to try and alleviate them from their loss. Because you know damn well the insurance company ain't going to pick up their total loss. So you could be a good neighbor in the process. That would be showing that you're no longer incompetent. Of what they're trying to say, everybody out here is totally incompetent because of all their fraudulent laws that they've placed out here and the restrictions imposed by Congress, that Congress did not have the right to impose those restrictions. They're operating in violation of the 9th and 10th Amendments to the Constitution. And they're also operating in violation of the First Amendment of the Constitution by imposing a fraudulent religion upon the people, a demonic religion of paying homage to the dead, to a fiction. And these allotment wardens out here basically are, under the bar system, are totally frauds anyway. That's all the bar members. Nobody have any questions? Responses? Rebuttals?
You made it sound
left out here.
We're here. Hey, you're making it pretty easy. This is a good lesson this afternoon. It's really explanatory. We're just, I'm glad you provided the form and everything. It's like, I printed it out and I was able to walk through it and look at it and everything. It was good.
You just need to go through these words that I keep bringing up, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Go and look them up in the dictionary and then highlight certain things. Print them out on a piece of paper. Copy them onto a Word document so you've got the words.
Right. Was that Black's fourth or fifth or something that you were referring to?
Black's fourth is the one I'm using now.
I didn't hear.
Because basically it has updated quite a few of these changes from the 1933 or the 1930 acts and everything that have taken place, where the first volume of the Black's Law Dictionary didn't have that in it.
I'll have to hear your answer on the tape because I had a call coming in and I couldn't hear you. I guess you said something about probably Black's fourth or fifth. I didn't know what you said.
Yeah, it's fourth. It's
okay.
Fourth.
Good. I'll hear the tape. Sorry about that, guys.
Right.
I'm going to mute out. Anyhow, I know which way to go. I took plenty of notes. I got all the words written down.
Right. Good. Well, you made this easy for us, Patrick. So get right down to it and do it first thing in the morning. And it looks like then we go back to the previous faxes and we word them in the fact that we all are already registered and we want our private licenses.
Yes. We want our access, okay?
Right.
And then basically, like I said, the certificate of live birth, you would do a restricted allotment. That's an allotment certificate. So you would be doing an allotment, and you can do the full payment of that allotment to be made to you. Like allotment note, a written order drawn by a seaman upon his employer, accepted by the latter and directing the payment of the seaman's wages in sums to persons and at times specified in the order. But it's an allotment. And then the certificate of live birth is also an allotment certificate.
Right.
The number of shares allotted or assigned or the amounts and due dates of the calls and different payments to be made upon the same.
And we specify that.
Yes. Read what it says about allotment certificate, both in Valentine's and blacks.
Right.
And then for people to have DD 214 about the allotment note in both Valentine's and blacks.
But the selective service won't cut that.
Huh?
The selective service number isn't an allotment note. Or can we treat
It's
it
an
as
account that basically you can put an order in for, that basically if there's any funds in that they are to be processed over to you, just like the Social Security, just like the driver's license and the others.
Okay.
Like what I've done before with the manifest.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
But the people that have a DD 214 and the certificate of live birth, they would go under either an allotment certificate or an allotment note.
Okay, Patrick, you've made it pretty clear then. And it looks like there's no more questions. It may be developed later.
Yeah, see, you can even put an allotment claim in against the Social Security account. You want to increase that. I want my allotment to be increased.
Okay.
Until the full allotment that is being held there has been distributed to me. But it's all under allotment, and it's under, you would put under a restrictive endorsement. Yeah, restrictive endorsement. An endorsement so worded as to restrict the further negotiability of the instrument.
What was it that you just said? Was that a restricted allotment or a restricted endorsement?
Restrictive endorsement.
Yeah, that's what I thought you said. Okay.
But see, the Social Security right now is being under a restrictive allotment.
Right.
They're only allotting so much to you because they think you're incompetent. And they're not going to give you basically your full amount. Because of the fraudulent restrictions imposed by Congress. But once you have your individual bankers and your private bank, now that becomes now private property. And you have, under the right of expatriation, the right to have retrieval of all your property. Read the Expatriation Act. you have to also include that in your statements. And then if the government officials do not comply, now they're in violation of that Expatriation Act.
Yeah, I got to read that.
Yes, I had Tom post that up last week or whatever, just about a week ago.
It was almost a couple of weeks ago.
It's
Was
the
that
whole
long?
act. It's in the files, Tom?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Within the last 2 weeks, we'll say, okay?
I'll find it.
Yeah.
Anybody else out there that has any questions? Okay, call tonight, Tom.
Okay. Thank you very much, Patrick. Very
Thanks for
instructive.
your time, Patrick.
Okay.
All right.
Getting in touch.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Good night, everybody.
Good night.